Hello everybody, how we doing today? This is Ryan doing another one of my reviews, and this is on the car that I have recently purchased, and this is the 2020 Alfa Romeo Giulia, and I got the TI Sport, and I'm going to explain exactly what that means in detail as I'm going to go through every little added option I got for this vehicle. This car is absolutely gorgeous. I'm super happy with it. I've owned it now for a couple weeks, and I thought now would be the time to do a review. I'm actually out here working in the Fraser Valley, which is kind of outside the city limits of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And this is where I decided to pull over on the side of a dirt road and do my little review. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is obviously the color I went with, which is black. I got the black trim because you can get this car in black and still get the chrome trim. I got it black with the black trim, so here's the black trim here. You get it here, and some other places that you would notice the black trim is right down here, and this is something I have already done myself, and I plasti dipped it, and it actually looks pretty good. You can't really tell that I plasti dipped it except for the fact that it's matted and this has the color. I kept it matted because I don't think I want to get any crazier with color, but I mean, she looks good. So when you get the TI Sport in this Alfa Romeo Giulia, it gives you the brake covers here. Now, of course, you have three colors to choose from. You can get it in white, and of course, I believe you can get it in yellow, and I went with red because you have to go with red with these guys. Look, that's a little bit dirty there. So it is excellent. I love the look. Okay, so let's continue on with what we're talking about with the Sport. So when you get the Sport, you'll also notice that you get these side skirts here. So that's fantastic. Okay, now the other body parts, if you will, that you get is right here. Now, if you look in other cars, you'll see the other Alphas. This part here just goes flat through, it goes straight. When you get the Sport, it comes up in here, okay? Sorry about the shadow, but this lip is separate. And you can see it's actually a matted paint color, so it's quite nice. So it's kind of got that extra angle. And of course, if I had the Quadrifoglio, which of course I cannot afford, it would have a whole partition here that comes down and catches air. When you get the Sport, you'll also notice that there is a duct that goes in there, and that'll help with the oil cooler, and that runs through the back as well. The other part that you'll notice with a Sport is the rear diffuser, which I have painted, and I did that in another video. Okay, so it's not that noticeable with the lighting I have here, but this is actually a darker color. So we have the rear diffuser on this, and of course this little matted look here, or the little kind of mesh thing going on here. Beautiful dual exhaust. So this is something you get on the Quadrifoglio. I have ordered that, I painted it, and I added it. And I could have got, for another like 80 bucks or so, I could have had it with the carbon fiber, but instead I just went with the black. I painted it myself because I think sticking with the whole black theme looks great. As you can see, I have my sunroof open here. It's beautiful. It's got that blade look. I think that's the coolest thing when those sunroofs are open and they just come outside of the car instead of going inside it. This car actually has dual sunroof. If you look on the inside, and you can open up this just like that, okay? Of course, this one doesn't do anything but just give you kind of a skylight. It's not so much a moon roof, if you will, as this one is. And of course, you can tilt it as well. So here's another thing you'll notice with, of course, a sport car, and this is probably the first thing you notice that I haven't talked about, and that's the wheels. So these wheels are 19-inch rims, and they are beautiful. They're the 5-spoke smoked chrome aluminum, okay? And they are amazing. And then these are run flat Pirelli tires that you get. It's quite impressive when they give you the Pirellis. I'm happy with that, to say the least. I've actually ordered some spacers. I got 2 of them. They're going to be 25 millimeter each, which is almost an inch, and that's going to make these back tires come out because I got a set. So if you take a look, you can see that the tire is a little bit in, and if I can get these things on here by next week, I'm going to have the wheels coming out just a little bit outside the arc. And I think it's going to work out just nicely. And I say that because there is enough space in here that I think it won't be an issue if it goes outside of this arc. Of course, we'll see when I get some friends in this car. Oh boy. Okay, so I think we've looked at a lot of the outside stuff. There's a few more things I want to go over. I have done a night review as a quick one, but I wanted to talk about the upgrade on these lights. So these are bi-xenon 35 watt lights, and they are an upgrade from what I have, what you get as a stock. I think the regular is 25 watt. So there is the bulb, of course. The LED daytime running light is this strip right here, okay? So it kind of fills in nicely here, and then it's the line at the top. Really cool look. Down here at the bottom is the, you know, your right and left turn signal, okay? So that obviously illuminates yellow. And then these two lights are interesting. I'm kind of a fan of them, I guess. When you turn right or left, so if I turn right, these lights will illuminate and it lights up the pathway further down the road. Of course, this one has a set too. Whereas other cars, I think these things kind of turn. With this car, it just illuminates. It's kind of interesting, but that's what they went with. So, and then of course, there is a light that illuminates in here so that those have kind of your amber lights when you're driving at night. While we're out here, let's also talk about what this is. So that is your driver assist package that gives you this. And basically, of course, this is what's going to let you lock onto the car in front of you when you're in cruise control. Adaptive cruise control is something new in the last 4 or 5 years that a lot of cars have. Both my cars have them now. They're fantastic. But you need to have, just like you have two eyes, so that you have a good idea of perspective, you'll need to have another one of those. And that's what's up here. So you can see this little lens here, that little eye. That's what's going on there. So that'll allow you to look down the road. If there's a car coming up and he's braking on the highway, it'll pull right up. So very cool. And of course, I think it's just so important to have these, and that's the parking sensors in the front. A lot of cars come standard, or at least they put them in the back, which is great. But boy, you want to have those sensors in the front of your car, because when you're pulling up to a parking spot, I mean, the last thing you want to do is start putting in a little bit of front end damage right here on the lip on these lower cars, because they're just going to knock on curbs all the time. So, just looks so good. I'm so happy with this car. Okay. So, I think it's time to move on. Just before we move on to the inside, the last thing I want to say is these are power folding mirrors. I think it's a great touch. So when you lock the car, what it does is it ends up folding the mirrors. Okay, so let's see if we can lock it right now. And there they go. Car. The other thing, of course, with this car, and here's the fob, right? Double tap that, the trunk opens. Okay, and of course you can lock the car and unlock it, but this is a great feature. So what you can do is start the car from your remote. So there's those LED lights here. They're probably flickering on the camera, as LED lights always do when cameras try to pick them up. Cool. The issue I am having with the remote start is I can't find an app for it. And in North America here in Canada, I've done some research and I'm not finding very much as far as an app to download. I mean, I could put an aftermarket module, and I'm sure I'll get something that I need to do that. But you know, if I'm not close enough to this car and I want to warm it up, I'm not getting what I want as far as that. So it's still cool though that it comes standard on the key when you get the Sport Pack. Okay, so this car has the comfort access. Lots of cars have different names for it. I put my hand in here. I barely touch it and it opens up. Very cool. This is to lock it. Okay, this is to open it. So I just put my hand in here, opens again. All the doors open. I have done this in my night video, that there is a light that illuminates right here. There's also a light on the inside. Pretty cool. Usually there's just lights down below, but there's two lights. So now we get a look at the car. So here we go. I got the full leather with the sports pack. You can get an outdoor sports trim or outside of the car, but these are sports seats, and that is extra, and they are amazing. This is a 8-way power seat, okay? They call them 6-way, but when you get the sport, you also get the lumbar, which is these two, okay? Oops, sorry, there's the camera. So these are, no, this is your lumbar, sorry. These are the side bolsters. So right here, these firm up. That's like the most important thing for me when it comes to a good sports seat, is having these Now let's open up the old engine here because I want to talk about the engine. So this is the TI Sport, as I said. Let's open up the latch. And we're going to get her cleaned because when I had got this in the dealership, I had mentioned, hey guys, this needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I'm a little surprised it's this dirty. But it was probably in a little dusty area when it got transported. So this is the filter, of course. I have already ordered an AFE, cold air intake system, that's going to replace this whole module, including this piping. And of course the MAF sensor. Okay, the mass airflow sensor is going to have to still be in there, and I'll do a whole video on that. It's really cool. That's going to add probably another 10 horsepower, let the car breathe a lot better. But this car, just so everybody understands what's under this hood, it's a 2-liter, 280 horsepower Ford direct injection turbo engine. And this car puts out quite a bit of torque, and it's pretty satisfying when you're behind the wheel. So hopefully with better airflow, and of course I'm going to be doing the exhaust as well, we're going to get air in and out of this car as quickly as possible to hopefully add a little bit more oomph. So again, the leather seats, we're going back in here. It's got the leather wrapped steering wheel. Let's sit right inside. So I've done a few videos already with this car, but I'm talking more about the options as far as this review goes. So when I got the Sport, okay, we're going to push down on the button here. Put your foot on the brake. Starts up the car, and the seat moves into place. Okay, everything warms up. This car warms up really quickly. I'm very impressed with the infotainment system. There's no lagging, which is really great. So when you get the Sport, of course, you get these giant toggles here. I'm a pretty big fan of them. I do get my hands caught. They're on the steering column, actually. They're not on the steering wheel. So regardless of where your hand is, they're always going to be right here or where your wheel is. So it's interesting. I think they're kind of cool. I'm really happy that I have this because that's what I'm sold on. I like being able to slide it in gear. Okay, so let's put this in drive. I like to be able to slide it over and then push down on a gear when I need to. Right here, this cluster is beautiful. So there's M2, M3, but I don't want to go any further than that. So we're going to put this back here. But this cluster here is beautifully done. I'm really impressed with it. I can toggle between different things that I want. There's my trip. It tells me all sorts of information that I need and diagnostics, and I love that it's got the digital speedometer. This car does not come with an optional heads-up display. I'm fine with that. A couple of reasons. One, I could put one in here in the corner of it, as I've done with BMWs in the past. Another reason is because with my Mazda, I don't like how I have to go into the system every time and turn it off. It's kind of an eyesore. I'm not really sold on it. I think they're more of a gimmick. I mean, some people would totally disagree with me. Let's talk about this sunroof up here. So I don't have it all the way back yet. To do that, we're going to hit it one more time. Okay. Oh, and I do have it all the way back. That's beautiful. It does have another setting, which is right there. Okay. And of course it has the tilt as well. But it's a beautiful, beautiful sunroof. It's quite large, and I'm very happy with that. I think it's fantastic. So I'm sitting in the 6-way power seat. It's awesome. One thing that's really good is if you look closely, by the way, these are all automatic, which is great. You just touch them once. I think all windows should always be that way. But we're going to look at here. Now, it's hard to see, but right in this line here, you can see there's a line. And what that's showing us is that these mirrors actually have the auto dimming, which is fantastic. This window or mirror here has it as well. Of course, I can toggle it on and off. But the side mirrors, my Mazda doesn't have it. When I'm driving and someone behind me and that light's reflecting right in my eyes, it's horrible. This is where your kind of home link button is set up to get into your garage and set that up. And of course, we have all sorts of lighting in here as well. I've done that in my night review video. The HVAC, I'm going to do a video on that. But this is very quick. It's responsive. I got my heated steering wheel, my heated seats. And anytime I want to toggle and hit these buttons, it goes onto the infotainment system at the bottom. So I think that's really well done. So there's not an additional, LED here to show me or a little display. It's all on the screen. Okay. This car comes with the carbon sound system, and it is premium. I'm quite impressed. My Mazda has a Bose sound system. This is rivals it, if not better. The sub is in the back, and you can feel it all the time, so it's definitely premium. This car also, because I got the sports pack, has the active suspension, and it's got limited slip differential. Now, I got a rear wheel drive, but when I put this car, okay, let's put it in drive first, okay? So we'll do that, and then we're gonna turn down the brake, or turn it off rather, or let it down, whatever you want to call it. So this is N, which is basically normal driving, okay? The A is for advanced economical driving. They have different words for it, everybody, okay? Eco mode, basically. D is dynamic, and that is the sport. And you notice that this little kind of shock little thing comes up here. And basically, this right here is the active suspension. The reason why the light comes on now is it's actually firmed up the car in this kind of dynamic sport driving mode. And if I press the button, you see it goes off. So, and on my display, if I press the button, it'll show right here, okay, off. There it is. Now it's in soft damper mode. So I was a little confused. What does that mean? Why would that, like, why can't I turn that on and off if, like, when I'm in these modes, it doesn't let me do that. Only in this mode does it let me play around with it. And what I learned is that it's always in soft in these two, okay? So normal driving or in eco driving, it's always in soft. And the reason it turns on here is because it's now being tightened up. And to soften the dampers, then I press it, and it lets me know that it's being softened. So, you know, some may think that's a little backwards, but I get it now. So let's put this in park. This, of course, is the cup holder. Kind of pretty. USBs, I've talked about this. This is full of stuff, sorry. But there are USBs down here. Okay, we have our auxiliary. The lighting's poor because it's so sunny out. There's also my cigarette lighter right in there. There's some pretty good little cubby holes in this car. Okay, little spot there to put some stuff. You know, the side pockets are quite tiny. It's not very big in there. The glove box is okay. But I do love a lot of the trim and a lot of the things they've done. So it looks good. As far as the driver assistance package, so there's two packages. The static package I got, which is the auto dimming mirrors, and the blind spot detection, okay? Unfortunately, this car doesn't make a noise when I go into the left lane. So if I want to go in the left lane and there's a car behind me, it doesn't alert me with a noise. It just lights this little thing up, which is kind of a big miss because I want to be able to use my ears to hear if there's trouble, not just have to look at the mirror and look at my blind spot, which, by the way, is kind of blocked with this A-pillar. So it can be a bit of a challenge with this car, I found. The other thing is what comes in the static pack is the rear cross detection. So if I put in reverse, okay, here comes my beautiful rear view mirror. That's awesome. And then, of course, my the parking sensors. Sorry for the light, guys. My goodness. But if someone pulls, or with a cart, shopping cart, or a kid runs across the back there, it'll alert me, just like my Mazda and a lot of the cars. So now the driver assistance dynamic pack is the one that has the lane departure warning, which we talked about. Okay, it's got also, of course, the adaptive cruise control. So it locks on the car in front of me. I hit this, I can move closer to the car. It locks on, I can speed up and down, and I can follow the traffic without ever using the brake or the gas. It's phenomenal. This car actually comes with the stop available. So it'll actually stop on the highway in traffic and then continue with the traffic, whereas my Mazda, the actual program will turn off, and then I'll have to start driving the car manually again. Of course, there's lane departure warning. That button's right here, and you can see the little icon up here, so I can turn that on or off. Okay, and that one, unfortunately, the wheel doesn't rumble like the Mazda I have. It just makes a noise. It goes rah, rah, rah. It's kind of annoying. So I wish I could get a rumble feel here, and I wish I could get a noise out of here, because you want to use all your senses when it comes to safety and be, you know, as best equipped as possible. And that's about that as far as that. The other thing I want to talk about is this. This is the 8-inch display. It is beautiful. No, it is not a touchscreen. But unlike a lot of cars that rely on touchscreen, this is way better. And I'll tell you, one of the things that sold me on this car is having the volume right here. That way, my hand can always be here. I don't have to stretch and do anything, play with this too much. Everything's right here. So I think it's fantastic. The last thing I wanted to finish with is the back seats. The back seats are super comfortable, very roomy for a little guy like me. But they're kind of like, I mean, we got the 5-seater, which to me is quite surprising because a lot of cars don't come with the 5-seater. You have the treble, okay, the tweeters here. Okay, there's the mid-range, and the sub again's in the back of the car. And of course, comes with cup holders and all that. I mean, it's not the most amazing back, but it's quite roomy for little people like me, and the 4-door just totally sold me. Well, there you go, guys. That's a little breakdown and review of my new 2020 Alfa Romeo Giulia TI Sport with the rear-wheel drive. I couldn't be happier with this car. It's kind of like, of all the cars I've owned, and I've owned about 10 or 11 cars now, I've come full circle into something that's put together in everything I've ever wanted in a little sports car. I'm going to continue to do videos on the little details of each thing. I think next up's going to be the infotainment system that this car has, which is, again, quite quick and responsive in comparison to a lot of those other laggy programs. Alfa Romeo, being a European Italian car, you know, there's kind of some quirks and things about this car that you can't really find in other cars, and there may be some challenges down the road with reliability and some other issues I may have as far as finding the resources and the right people to keep up with this thing. But you know, one example is coding. I want to get some programming done with the software on this so I can eliminate the door chime and a few other things. Well, you can't really find that like you can with the BMW. But anyways, guys, don't forget to throw in your thoughts, your comments. Please subscribe. I'm going to put out little detailed videos. And again, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.